What's going on, everyone? So I am out here, and this is kind of like the walking area of Bacolod. It's like a no traffic zone. It's blocked off. Cars can't come up and down this road. This is also the place where they held the Extreme Mascara event when Mascara Festival was on. Really nice, wide open place. Everyone just walking about, getting some exercise. And I thought I'd come out here and do a little review on my Yamaha Mio Sporty. I've had this bike for a little bit over a year, so I think 13 months now. And let's get right into it. Alright, so we'll get into the specs a little bit. Seat height is 74 centimeters, so I think that's about a little under 3 feet or so, or 2.5 feet I'd say. Not too big of a bike. So this compartment here, it's not too big. You can definitely fit a decent size backpacking bag, but you wouldn't really want anything over, I'd say, 40-liter bag on there. Not too big, but it does the job. It's a pretty narrow bike. You can get the Yamaha Soul I think it's the next step up. It's about 5,000 or 6,000 pesos more. And it's a decently wider bike, and the seat's a bit better. This is kind of like the bottom of the line seat, the really run-in-the-mill. Not too comfortable, but does the job. The ground clearance of this bike is 130 millimeters, so that would be 13 centimeters. So a little over 1/3 of a foot, so you can't really go over too big of a bumps, or you will scratch the bottom and stuff, and you'll hear a big grind when you go over. I've done that a few times when you go over the speed bumps at malls and places like that. The engine on this thing is a forced air-cooled 4-stroke SOHC engine. It's not the most powerful thing, but for a 115cc bike, it's definitely got enough power to get through cities and stuff and go ripping by traffic if you need to. The maximum horsepower on this is 5.98, so just about 6 horsepower. Not too much, but for such a small bike, it actually does pretty damn good in a city, I'd say. It has electric start and also the kickstart option. I've noticed when it's really moist outside that it doesn't really want to start with the electric starter, so you have to put the stand up and then use the Kickstarter. And usually it's one kick and it gets going. The fuel tank on this thing is under the seat, and it holds 3.7 liters, so just about 1 gallon. And I'd say it's good for at least 120 or 130 real world kilometers. So it goes a decent distance. It costs about 125 pesos or 130 pesos to fill it up completely. So that's kind of like $3 American or $4.25 for Canadians. So the clutch type on this is a centrifugal automatic. Transmission type is a V-belt automatic. And it has front and rear brakes. And I guess the brakes are single disc / drum brakes. So I think maybe the back tire is a drum brake and the front tire is the disc brake. It has a pretty decent stop time. Like, I can be going 60 kilometers an hour and I can stop pretty damn fast with this thing. So after over 1 year of owning this thing, would I recommend this bike to anyone? I would say the only way I'd recommend this bike to people is if you want a really good like city bike, in-town bike. These are probably the best thing to have because they're very light, they're very maneuverable, probably has the best turning radius out of all bikes here in the Philippines. Like, you can get out of some really tight situations on this bike, and if you're going through traffic and it's really tight, you can squeeze through pretty much anything. But things I would not recommend it for is long drives, driving in the mountains, anything where you're going to be sitting on the bike for a long time. This is probably not the bike for you. You probably want to get something bigger and better, more horsepower. This thing is definitely a city bike. So my review of the performance of this thing is, when you're on it by yourself, it is a pretty damn decent bike. Like, I can go ripping by traffic, hit 60 kilometers an hour in probably 3 or 4 seconds. So I can go pretty much faster than any car here, so I don't have to worry about someone coming rushing up behind me and hitting me if I'm trying to get ahead of traffic, because this bike goes a little bit faster than everything else. But it doesn't do so good when you have two people on it, because I think the weight capacity is something like 220 kilograms. So when you got two people on it, it kind of gets close to the limit. And you don't really get going too fast. You can still pass traffic and stuff, and it's more like you're in a car. When you're passing people, you don't have that much get up and go, but it definitely gets the job done. Only on a highway will you have trouble passing people. In the city, really not so much, because people only drive probably 30 or 40 kilometers an hour. On the highway, it seems to do pretty good. Like, I've topped this thing out at 90 kilometers an hour, and no speed wobbles or anything. It's kind of hard on the shocks when you're going that fast, because any little bump you will totally feel it. And I guess we'll talk about the problems I've had with this bike. In the mountains, if you're going up the mountains with two people, it is very sluggish. You can, like a steep mountain like in Don Salvador, you can probably only get going 30 kilometers tops, or the really steep parts maybe 15 kilometers tops. So it really goes pretty slow in the mountains and going up hills. Other problems I've had with it is, like I said, the starter sometimes just doesn't want to work and you have to kickstart it. Not really that big of a problem, but kind of gets annoying. Also, my back wheel was getting loose a while back, and I didn't really know what it was. It was making weird clicking sound, and we took it in, and luckily the guy figured out what was wrong, and he saw the tire was pretty loose, and he tightened everything up and seemed to be working fine after that. But now it's kind of making a different kind of clicking noise, so kind of have to take it back and figure out what the hell is going on with it now. It pretty much only makes the clicking sound when there's two people on, so I'm guessing maybe it has something to do with the suspension, or yeah, I don't know. I'm no mechanic here. Another problem I had with this thing was when I first got it, the wheels were just way too tight, I think. And every time I let go of the gas, it would pretty much just have like a jerking action, because the wheels would kind of catch and would want to slow down, and jerking you back and forth, which would make your back really sore. And I really didn't like that. Also, another thing I don't really like about this bike is just it seems a little too small for foreigners. I think I would want to get something at least 150cc. Better leg room, wider. Be nicer to carry bigger bags on a 150. And you can see I got a bit over 8,000 kilometers on it, so definitely put some miles on this thing in the last year. It's been on a couple pretty big road trips where we're driving probably 7-8 hours non-stop, and it actually handles pretty damn good. It's just air cooled, but never really had a problem with overheating, because I don't do any kind of tweaks, or I don't mess around with the engine. But all in all, for someone who's never rode a motorcycle or owned one, this is probably one of the best bikes you can get, because it's decent price. It's I think I paid 67,000 pesos cash up front. No payments after that, just paid him cash and off I went out of the dealership. And yeah, it's just a really nice bike to get the hang of riding a motorcycle and learning how to drive in the Philippines. I don't think you'd really want something way too powerful when you're trying to learn how to drive in this country, because it can be pretty complicated. So I would say this is a great bike for beginners, or people living in the city who just want a nice bike to get around on. Or for a girl, I'd say this is a great bike because it's so light and you're not going to have to worry too much about it tipping over. I think it's only 109 pounds or something like that, so really light bike. Super easy to use. Right now I'm kind of trying to decide if I want to just give this to Michi and let her learn how to ride the bike and then use it for around town and me buy a bigger one, or if I should just sell it and get a bigger, maybe 150 or something. So not too sure. I guess I'll figure out later. So I hope you like this semi-informal review, and maybe I'll do some more videos like this in the future, maybe on how to ride in the Philippines, things you should know and stuff like that. So until next time, peace out, stay safe, wear a helmet, and have fun.